Welcome back in today, you guys. We have a very special guest. We have Micheal Burt. Micheal Burt is a 16, you heard me right, 16-time author. Literally, he's wrote 16 books. That is amazing. I'm over here trying to write my very first one. So that's why we actually wanted to bring him on today. Coach, welcome in. I know you're a speaker. I know you're doing big things out there with the Greatness Factory. Welcome into the Students of Success podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. And it is a process, right, to success and writing the books. And thank goodness we've been doing it a long time and we got a good formula down, but I'm honored to be here with you.
Micheal, thank you for taking time out of your day. You could have been anywhere, and the fact that you took time out of your day to come on, we really appreciate it. One of the things that by reading about you and things like that, I saw that, you kind of, before you was a coach and you was an athletic director and you were doing many things. Can you speak to that and like how you transition, how you ended up where you are today? Can you just speak to that for a second?
From 18 to 25, I really had found my voice in life and I knew I wanted to coach. The second I started coaching basketball at 15, I knew this is what I was supposed to do with my life. At 18, I was introduced to Dr. Stephen Covey that wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I was really introduced to the whole person theory, which is how do you inner engineer a person to reach their potential. So the whole time I was coaching, I was fascinated by the psychology of inner engineering a person, like the motivation side, the tapping into the drive of a person, the confidence of a person. And I really became as interested in the motivation and confidence side as I did in the X's and O's side. And so I became known as a young basketball coach as a master at getting the most out of his teams. And so people were constantly asking me, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And I said, man, maybe I should just write a book on it. And that's really how I started writing books. Is I said, I've started young. I have a lot to say. I want to help other coaches. My first book was actually for other coaches. But the funny thing is that coaches wouldn't buy it. Business people bought it. And so what happened was it got in the hands of some business people. They asked me to speak and they would use common terms. Come over and motivate my people. You seem to be a great motivator. Will you come over and speak to my people? And I would go speak, and pretty soon they started saying, well, how much will it cost me for you to coach my team? And I said, man, I can't. I'm a high school basketball coach. Like I'm working 80 hours a week coaching my team. And they began offering me pretty large amounts of money to coach their teams. And it was that point that I had a revelation that the skill set I had developed would be very valuable in the business world, and people would pay me a lot more money because what was on the line was millions of dollars. My skill set was helping them make millions of new dollars. And so they didn't mind paying me some of it. So that's really how I transitioned, is one book turned into two turned into three. And then I began getting offers from companies to be their business coach or their performance coach. And at 31 years old, I retired from athletic coaching to build a multi-million-dollar coaching company.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think that, you said that the coaches actually wouldn't buy the book, and you said business owners were buying that book. Can you speak to that as well? Like when everything kind of goes against you, maybe you're actually being redirected to something better. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I was a young coach. They probably thought I was, a little arrogant, a little too big, as we say in the South, for my britches. But I knew I was good, and I knew I paid the price, and I knew I was going to be a championship coach. And so trying to sell something to your peers while you're doing it sometimes is very difficult. You really have to create a significant separation between yourself and your peers for them to buy something. And at that time, at 25 years old, I had not done that yet. Although they were intrigued by what I was doing, I really didn't have a championship ring for them to go, man, this dude has done it. Then when I won a championship, then I had separated myself. Then by that time I had written my fourth book, and people thought I was going to be a motivational speaker. Like I was going to leave coaching and be a motivational speaker. And it is true that I speak a lot, but mainly to market my coaching services. And, so a lot of people don't really understand what a coach does. What I do all day, every day is coach people, business owners, entrepreneurs, companies, to try to get some increase, typically in their revenue, to activate the prey drive in the employees, in the people, in the team. And so a good portion of my time is spent doing what a good coach really does, which is activating the drive in their people.
You spoke to it as well, the prey drive. I came across that. Can you explain the prey drive to people out there that maybe don't know what that is?
Well, I see a dog there in the background, right? That's your dog. A dog has a prey drive, and it is the dog's instinct to stalk, capture, and kill something. And even a sweet little innocent dog that would never hurt anybody, if the dog's prey drive was activated and it became incredibly protective, it would go on offense. Well, humans, I believe, have a prey drive, which is the human's ability to see something with the eyes, optically, or in the mind through imagination, and then have the persistence and intensity to pursue it. The biggest problem in America is we're complacent, we're lazy, we live a comfortable life, we're good. Well, when I come along, what I try to do with people is activate that drive in a person to pursue something bigger, to want to do something. That's why the book is called Flip the Switch, is I literally want to flip the switch. Now, I was doing it this weekend in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, with a group of door-to-door experts. And there was a guy who was number 3 in the company, but everybody in the room thought he was talented, thought he was good, thought he had potential. And I listened to him for a little bit, talk about how he wanted to be number 1. And then I did what a coach does. I challenged him. I said, man, you don't want to be number 1. I mean, quit lying to yourself, quit lying to these people in this room. Because if you did, you would become number 1. You use words like I'm a little complacent or slacking or this or that. You and I both know that those words are not associated with being number 1. If you want to be number 1, you don't be a slacker. So let me ask you a hard question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about being number 1? What are you willing to give up to be number 1? How much commitment do you have to be number 1? What I was trying to do was challenge him and create some tension in him to activate his prey drive. And there's certain drivers I use to activate that in a person.
And speaking to that a little bit, like what do you think is like for entrepreneurs specifically, like what do you think they're really lacking? You spoke to it a little bit, but I find, especially with FanSpan, that we living in America, we don't have any courage, right? And can you speak to just like somebody that's maybe starting on their journey as an entrepreneur and what they need to really focus on?
What they need is a long obedience in the same direction. They need, today I talked about it on my podcast, Super Coaches. They have a time confusion. So they're confused about what to do. They're confused that the purpose of the business is to produce a customer. I can't tell you how many businesses do not have a selling system, a follow-up plan, how to extract referrals, how to become known. At 44, I would tell you the number one thing we got to do today is become known. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier to sell a person something when they know who you are, right? Like by you watching my videos or listening to my podcast, or like you already feel like you know me. Well, it's a whole lot easier for me to offer something to you than me just calling you out of nowhere, out of the blue, and saying, hey man, I'm a great coach and you need my services. And so I'm actually coming to the conclusion at 44, after running this business for 13 or 14 years, I should have spent a lot of time earlier becoming known, really becoming what I wrote about in the book, Person of Interest, which is a known, famous quantity in the world. That drives leads. It drives everything. So a lot of business owners don't know how to get attention for their business. They don't know how to explain their services. They don't know how to generate leads. They don't know how to follow up appropriately. They don't know how to get referrals, and they don't know how to become people of interest. Those are the areas I coach people on in my coaching program, A Monster Producer.
I love it. Let me ask you this. Do you feel that people are just, especially right now in a time like, COVID-19, do you feel that people are just, stuck? Or do you feel that, like, I feel, that most people feel that there is no future? What is your sense of like what you're feeling out there, knowing that you coach as many people as you do? What are you feeling right now?
Well, there's two types of people. There are one person that as soon as something comes along that is a departure away from the ideal scene, and they just want to throw the towel in. They just want to quit. They just like, hey, it ain't going to work. We're not going to sell anything. We're doing a period of this. Then there's another person that has a mindset, and this is kind of my mindset, is it's going to be a fight, but we're going to find a way to win. And as long as you have that mindset, like my mindset is, okay, so for a period I couldn't speak because there were no events. But now events are coming back. I've been doing events. I'm doing events in Dallas this week. I'm doing events in Phoenix. I'm doing events in Miami. So I've been on airplanes where they've been full. I've been in airports where there's people everywhere. So the world's coming back, whether you want to admit it or not. And there's going to be a percentage of people that continue to move forward. When COVID happened, I stepped back and it forced me to work muscles I hadn't worked in a while. It forced me to get creative. It forced me to come up with new ways to generate money. It forced me to open up new divisions. It forced me to get better on Zooms and doing coaching via webinar. It forced me to start doing webinars. And it forced me to do more podcasts. It forced me to come up with series. It forced me to pump out more content. Like, it really activated the prey drive in me. It's the only way I know how to tell you, is that it made me more competitive. It's like, oh, I'm going to find a way to win, man. I didn't work this hard to get here to let some external factor affect me. Like that's the toughness that's missing. So just remember this cycle. People start with good intention. Then they find out it's hard. Then they give up. And big time people don't do that. They start with good intention and they have the guts to see something through to its conclusion. And that's really the separator. So there's been two type of people during the COVID period. Some people that have contracted, retreated, they're scared to death. They think the world's falling apart. They don't have any money. Then the second person that says, I'm going to make millions of dollars during this period, because when there's fear, there's always opportunity, and that's just the way the world works.
Yeah. No, I really love what you said there. And I also, I have been watching you online, and I did see that you had your own event in COVID. And to me, that inspired me because, over here at Fansplan, trying to do what I'm trying to do. And then to see other people, even in a time like this, pushing and pulling in that direction where they want to go, it motivates me. So I want to first let you know that you've motivated me, by just being who you are and doing your calling. I also want to talk to you about, you mentioned this new book, Flip the Switch. Can you speak a little bit to that? Because, internally in my own life, I can look at the times that I've flipped the switch, right? And I can also look at the times where I flipped the switch off. Yep. Can you talk to that a little bit, of like people that feel it can't be that easy? Can you speak to that?
Well, when you study, there's about 20 different motivational theories out there, and they all say the same thing. We move toward things we want. That's simple. We're hungry, we go looking for food. When we want companionship, we go looking for other people. When we're thirsty, we go find something to drink. Problem becomes in America is we're so well fed that all of our basic needs are met. Okay. Therefore, our motivation goes away. We don't want anything. And so what happens is people get to a point in their life and they think, well, I got a good life. I'm comfortable. I don't have to push. I don't have to exert force. I don't have to push. Right. And they become very complacent, which is really the biggest fight I think we're in, is a fight against complacency. There's a lot of things I do every day. As you know, I took ownership in an F45 gym. I work out there when I'm in town 6 days a week. I don't ever want to go, but I always have the feeling of accomplishment after I go. And the feeling of accomplishment to me is greater than the feeling of not wanting to go. So what happens when it comes to flipping the switch is most Americans go through their lives in a haze, in a daze. They don't push. They don't really exert force. They don't really accomplish anything. Listen, I've spoken at least 2 funerals where they asked me to give the eulogy, and there was nothing to say about the person. Like, they hadn't done anything. They hadn't really contributed anything. They hadn't changed anything. They hadn't created anything. They were just good people that went to work every day. And then one day they died. And man, it was sad. It was sad to me that when I asked their family members, what's the biggest accomplishment? Oh, they've never really done anything. Ask their coworkers they never really did anything. They showed up to work. Ask their friends, what did they do? It's like, man, they didn't really do anything. They just lived a life, and it was a good life. And man, it planted in me. At my funeral, I want people to say, man, this dude impacted millions of people. Like, he sucked out every ounce of life the good Lord gave him. He gave everything he had every day. Like that's the only way I want to live. And as I get older, I get more intense about what I want to do and who I want to do it with and how big my goals are and how I want to impact the world. And Flip the Switch is about activating and reactivating that drive in you. And more importantly, it's about finding the activator for you, because you may not always have a Coach Burt there for you every day. Like, in today's world, you can flip on a video on YouTube and watching me, right? You can flip on something, or you can get in my coaching program. But what if I'm not there for you? You need to know how to activate your drive every day. Okay. Because sometimes when I wake up in the morning, it's not activated. I got to activate it. I got to figure out, okay, what can I do to get this thing moving, right? To get this energy that I need to do something big in the world, right? Because the world's going to tell you, relax, take it easy. Don't push this hard, right? You're going too much. And for some people, maybe I do push too hard, but I told my wife, we're going to live an extraordinary life, and extra's got to come from somewhere. Okay. So it's going to require a lot of force and energy and push from me. And most people, including my own family members, are not going to understand the kind of drive and intensity that I have.
Right. No, I'm right there with you. And that's actually why I wanted to bring you on, because, for people that are listening and they're not watching, you have a shirt on that literally says Monster Producer on it. And, I also see that, your wife has a book, Living with a Monster. And I joke with my girl the other day. I say, you see, we're not alone. You're not the only one living with a monster. Can you speak to that as like when you are, extreme and you want to be a monster producer, right? You understand that it takes monster effort and monster work. And can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think there's a certain cut of person that is obsessed. They want to go all the way. They don't want to go part of the way. They don't want to go some of the way. They want to extract maximum potential out of their life, right? They want to self-actualize. And that's the kind of people I'm looking for. We named our coaching program Monster Producer because we found a definition that said a monster is a legendary creature. And so that's why we called it that. And then, my wife wrote a book called Living with the Monster. How do you live with an obsessed person? How do you live with a person? Say, well, what are you obsessed with? Well, I'm obsessed with my potential. I'm obsessed with helping people. I'm obsessed with becoming known in the world. I'm obsessed with living a life that matters. I'm obsessed with being what I'm fully capable of becoming. And I see my work as the distribution channel for my talent. Okay. A lot of people don't think of it this way, but artists, athletes, entertainers, what they're really doing is they are distributing their talent to the world, and the world is rewarding them at a very high level in the form of love, money, recognition, referrals, reputation. Like it's not selfish to want to be a person of interest, because the truth is, if you want to influence a lot of people on planet Earth, becoming a person of interest, becoming known, becoming famous for something, which is all famous means. It just means being known. It means celebrated. It means renown. There's nothing wrong with living a life where you want to be known in the world. And you're never known for being average. So if you want to be average, you can forget being known, because people are not interested in, people don't talk about the people in the middle or at the bottom.
That's so true. Also one of the things that I want to bring up as well is, like, you mentioned it. You mentioned that a lot of times your family isn't going to see what you see. In those times when you had to dig deep, right? What would you say to the person that's just starting out, that like your family's telling them, come on, why can't you just be comfortable?
It took me a long time to realize this, because I have a really special relationship with my mother, because she was a single mom that raised me. But around, 30 something to 40 years old, I started to realize that I could love my mother with all my heart, all my soul, everything, but she didn't have my dreams. They were my dreams and not hers. So to this day, my own mom thinks I work too hard. She thinks I push too much. She thinks I need to relax more. She thinks I need to, and it's hard for me to say, hey man, I'm 44 years old. I got big dreams, and it's okay if you and I don't agree on this. You can still be my mom. I can still love you. I can still, honor you. But my dreams are big, and maybe they're bigger than yours, and maybe yours was to be a good mom and do big things in the world, but mine are real big. And that's to impact people all over the world. So, and that's okay. And sometimes there's going to be some tension there. Sometimes there's going to be some friction there, because, I've been on the road in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for 5 or 6 days. I just got home yesterday. I'm leaving back out to go to Dallas and Phoenix this week. The life I live is not easy. It's not easy being away from my 12-week-old son. It's not easy being away from my family, my daughter, but we also live an incredible life. We have 3 multi-million-dollar homes. We have a private jet. We help people all over the world. And I came from nothing. I mean, literally from nothing. So I tell my wife a lot of times, you tell me if this is too much, or you tell me if we're going too far, or right, but we can't have it both ways. Like, we get to experience.
What if she says, hey, you're going too far? What do you do?
Well, I am constantly trying to restructure the business to where I can coach people and generate the kind of revenue I'm looking to generate at my lodge in Tennessee, which is 20 minutes from my house. As I mentioned, I have a private plane, but I don't fly everywhere private because I'm still frugal. It's hard for me to justify spending $25,000 to go to Vegas, or, so I still fly. I flew commercial to Jackson Hole just because in my mind, it's hard for me to justify spending $30,000 flying on a plane out there. So, but one of my goals is to be able to fly private everywhere so my family can go with me. There's no separation. My daughter can go with me. Our son can go with us. My wife can go with us. Those are big goals I have, so that there's not this, Coach Burt's living this life and his family's living this life. There's more of an intentional congruence, but we get to enjoy nice things in life because of my work. And I think my wife understands that.
I love it. For me personally, I'm over here, I'm a workaholic too. I'm just sold out for what I'm doing. Right. And I think when you do that, sometimes it seems to me that, I'll be transparent with people. Like, I've had bad partners, right? Like, I'm 29, but I've been divorced. Okay. And it's because I was moving too fast. She thought I was out cheating on her. She had a private investigator who followed me around for 4 months. They said, ma'am, the only place he goes is car lots and Starbucks. And it's just,
found out other things. That's good. That's a good thing to find out.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is that there's always going to be people that aren't going to see the vision. Right. And especially whenever you want to have your family right there with you, you want them to be along with the journey with you. Sometimes being an entrepreneur, it is a lonely journey. I just think that like you said, we got to have courage. We got to have courage to stand up and say, you know what, my family does deserve better. My family does deserve to be able to travel with me. My family does deserve to be able to take this private jet everywhere across the globe. I think there's a lot to be said about that, especially living in this day and age, Doctor. And people seem to settle. They settle, like where I'm from, everybody just settles. Can you speak to people that, maybe everybody around them is settled, but they're in their mind, they've got this wild vision, and they're like, what do they need to do? Because everybody they say, come on, dude, it's not going to happen for you.
Well, I think as some people get older, they don't get better. They get worse. They look worse. They let their bodies get worse. Their dreams, what they've done is they've let their dreams die. And one time they had a dream, but life has beat it out of them. As my buddy Tim Story says, life has knocked the shout out of them. And I think one of the activators of prey drive is exposure, meaning you see something, you're exposed to something, you see a bigger world, your mind is open to possibility. And for so many people, they never placed themselves in a position to see that. It's when I wrote the book, Small Towns and Big Dreams, we had a terrible time selling that book because a lot of people in small towns don't have big dreams, and it's generational. So they just keep repeating the same small dreams. I go to school, I get pregnant, I have kids, I work at the local thing. They go to the same school, they get pregnant, they have kids, and it just keeps going until somebody breaks that cycle and says, I'm going to step out of this cycle and go see the world. And maybe I come back to the small town and do something big, but you got to have some ambition somewhere. You got to want to do something bigger. And I think a lot of people do, but who they surround themselves. Now, who I'm married to today, my wife, I've only been married one time, and has a lot to do with my success because she doesn't put any constraints on me. She doesn't say, right. She allows me to be who I am, which is Coach Burt. And if she didn't, we probably would have a bad marriage because constraining a person, suppressing their drive will create tension and friction and conflict. And she writes about in her book that when we first got together, she'd never been with anybody like me. And she said, when I started cooperating with Michael's vision versus competing with it, that's when our relationship really went to a new level. When I quit competing, she always saw my ambition as a competition to her. Now she says, man, how do I cooperate with this? How do we work together on this ambition and drive and do big things? And since then, we do couples retreats together. You know, we travel the world. Like I said, we've got a new son right now, so we've done less traveling together, but we got big goals, and I want to have the finances to do it. If we want to go somewhere, I want to be able to do it. If she wants to do something, I want to be able to do it. If she wants to pursue her dreams, I want her to be able to do it. I encourage her and push her to pursue her talent and her potential.
What do you do internally whenever you have your own doubts?
Taking action.
Taking action.
When in doubt, I always take an action. When in doubt, I exert more force. When in doubt, what I try never to do is contract and retreat, which is what most people do. Big time people expand. Mm-hmm. They may not expand with money, but they expand with effort. Mm-hmm. So when I get scared, my standard default is to come out fighting, man. When I'm not hitting my sales number, I push harder. I call more people. I do more videos. And that's always worked for me. It's never let me down to exert more force and energy. Never in 44 years of living. You know, when I wasn't winning as a basketball coach, we practiced more. I didn't complain. I didn't complain. Like if I was broke, I wouldn't sit around complaining that I was broke, man. I'd find a way to make money. I'd work harder. I'd show up more. There's no shortage of money in the planet. There's a shortage of courage. There's a shortage of creativity. There's a shortage of effort. There's no shortage of money. So all the broke people sit around and complain about they're broke. Well, we can't get any customers. Well, COVID has shut us down. Well, that's not true, man. Every business in America that's tried to make money during this period can figure out a way to make money. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care if you're the restaurant that has to deliver the food or create a food truck. I don't care if you're the gym that's trying to get gym members in. Listen, I help F45, a new gym I'm a partner in, have the highest number of members they've ever had since they opened during COVID. So I love that because it shows people. Everybody told me not to invest in a gym. Everybody. They said you never want to invest in a gym during or a restaurant during COVID. And I'm like, man, that's your opinion. It ain't my opinion because I'm gonna. All I need is 40 members a month in there. Surely the goodness out of 1 million people in Middle Tennessee, I can give 40 people to come a month. Like their thinking is all, man, scared. Everybody's scared.
So because, you know, that's also another thing I've seen, you know, in this time, you've been putting out a lot of content. You've been really pushing the envelope, even having events, doing those things in times like that, where even people show up, right? How do you do it? How do you truly stay on your path no matter what?
I think I'm committed to my aspirations. And one of my aspirations, I wrote it when I was 31 years old. I had a whiteboard in the house I lived in, and I just wrote my goal. And up in the left-hand corner, I wrote to become the next Covey. Dr. Stephen Covey influenced me so much from 18 to 25, changed my life, changed the trajectory of my life. At 31, after Dr. Covey passed away, I said, man, I want to become the next Covey, the modern day Covey, the dynamic Covey. You know, I've got this coaching background with this intensity, but I got a deep methodology of inner engineering, and that's my goal. And I'm not wavering. I'm not wavering until I help that many people. Okay. So I'm not going to become distracted, which means to pull apart. I'm not going to lower my goal. I'm not going to give up on my goals. I'm going to push until I get there. And I ask people all the time, like, you know, man, I need to do this. I need to get there. I need to do this. And my media guys in New York City, they're like, you're doing it, man. Like, I don't understand what you, I'm trying to get there, man. I want to become known. I'm like, I'm a little baby star in the grand scheme of the world. But they're like, man, you're doing it. You're doing everything you need to do to get there. It's going to happen. Like you're moving there, right? So, you know, it's one of those things that you're never there fast enough. But every day I'm trying to get there, man. Every day I'm learning something.
Well, I think any man that's wrote 16 books is a man that's dedicated, right? Because, I mean, when you said you read that first book and it was kind of to the wrong people, right? So it's like, or maybe not even to the wrong people, maybe it's just they didn't know what they were missing. So can you also just speak to people that, you know, because obviously you're gifted. You know, one of the things that I learned, that I recognize about you is that you're touched. You know, you're touched, you're gifted. Can you speak to somebody out there that doesn't feel that they're gifted, but we both know that everybody has a gift. Can you just speak to that?
I do believe everybody has a gift, and I do believe everybody has talents. And I think the challenge
The
is,
last thing we want to do is go like what you said, where they're at their funeral and they didn't really accomplish much. So can you just really drive this home for our
yeah,
folks?
the big problem, is most people don't know their talents. They've never been in a course to find their talents. Nobody's ever talked to them about finding their talents. Nobody knows what their primary skills are. We really just have one big commodity factory, which pushes people out into the world to get jobs. They're never really challenged to critically think. I was fortunate very early in life to have great coaches. Those coaches recognized my talents. Even before I did, they affirmed and validated my talents. They helped me find my voice in life. So what you may consider as talented or gifted or touch, I would tell you, was the recognition of my talents very early in life by other people, and then picking a lane of which I had this long obedience in the same direction. Now, let me give an example. Jeffrey Colvin wrote a book called Talent is Never Enough, or Talent is Overrated. And what he talks about in that book are real examples of people like Tiger Woods, Jerry Rice, Bill Gates. These are people that kind of found their talent early in life and then had these long cycles of practice. And that's kind of how I feel, is that I found my talent very early. 6 years old, it was kind of spoken into me. You're going to be a great coach. 15, I started coaching. I'm 44. So for 29 years, I've been doing the same thing. So what you see me do is get deeper and deeper and better and better and better and better. And I haven't done 17 things. I've done one thing for 29 years. And I think what happens is it's that mastery. You get to a mastery level and you're operating at a higher frequency because you really, really clarity about your talents in the world. So I do believe everybody's gifted. I think people never find their gifts. They never open their gifts, and they never share their gifts. And that's why they just do average things in the world, is they're really misaligned with what they're supposed to be doing. My work is my calling. Okay. So that's it. End of discussion. It's not my job. It's not my 9 to 5. Like, I was put on this earth to do what I do. Even when I try to do other things, there's other things I'm interested in. But at the end of the day, I'm a coach, man. If you told me I couldn't coach, I'd be miserable. Okay. And so now it's a matter of how do I become the number one coach in the world? Okay. Then it's a matter of how do I go deep on this concept? How do I become known as America's coach or the world's coach? Okay. And so that's what we got to figure out.
I love it, man. Well, first things first, people that are listening, I want you guys to all go out and grab his book. The book is called Flip the Switch. And, if you don't want that one, the man's got 15 other more to pick from. The man's got a lot of knowledge to pass on. That's also something that for me, changed my life was, picking up a book, looking for the answers. If I didn't have it, seeking the answers and trying to get it. Dr. Burt, thank you for your time. And thank you for your energy and everything that you're doing. The Greatness Factory up there in Tennessee, I see you're doing that. And I'm excited when that gets all launched. I want to come up there and be a part of that, man.
Absolutely, man.
Is there anything you want to add before we
No,
get on?
I think if you're out there and it struck a chord with you, if you want to send me this video, I'll be happy to put it on my YouTube as well. Let's get some eyeballs on it. Let's get some distribution of it. If you're out there and you said, man, this guy needs to be my coach, that instinct in you is prey drive. And when you sense that instinct and you feel that instinct, you need to act on it. You need to pick up the phone. You need to go to my website, coachburt.com. You need to come get in the room with me for 2 days, because one big regret I had in my life is there were people that walked into my life at certain times. I just had a thought of one right now, and that I didn't reach out to and I didn't work with, and I should have. That's an instinct in you saying, this dude can help me. This dude can help me get to the level I'm trying to go to. So if you have that, just go to my website, coachburt.com, send me an email, and let's get rolling, man. Let's get you into something. Boot camp, coaching program, something that can coach you.
Awesome, Coach. Well, thank you for your time. We'll stop talking before they stop listening. It's been awesome. You have a great day, and you guys take care.